Straight ahead on Law and Crime Daily. Meghan Markle wins a privacy case over a UK tabloid publishing her letter to her estranged father. A Texas mother tackles a suspected peeping Tom, sending him straight to the slammer. The Senate votes to acquit former President Trump of inciting an insurrection. But could he still be facing criminal prosecution?
Didn't get away with anything yet.
The truth in this case is in the lies.
Did Wisconsin man kill his wife, then hide her body to be with his new girlfriend? Or did she disappear on her own nearly 8 years ago?
The only person to know what's happened to Victoria is Victoria.
Law and Crime Daily covering court cases from coast to coast. Welcome everyone to Law and Crime Daily. I'm Brian Buckmeyer along with Terry Austin. British royal couple Meghan Markle and Prince Harry announced they're expecting baby number 2. And the news comes on the heels of a legal victory for the celebrity parents. A UK judge has ruled the publication Mail on Sunday violated the Duchess of Sussex privacy by publishing a handwritten letter to her estranged father. Extracts from Meghan Markle's 2018 letter to her father after he failed to attend her wedding to Prince Harry made headlines in the Daily Mail in February 2019. In the letter, she wrote to her father, Thomas Markle, that he had broken her heart into a million pieces by speaking to the tabloids while refusing to take her phone calls. Markle and Prince Harry then sued the tabloid's owner, Associated Newspapers, in October 2019 for misuse of private information, copyright infringement, and breach of the Data Protection Act. The couple saying at the time it was part of a war against a campaign of misrepresentation against Meghan. Now the judge has ruled publishing the letter was, quote, manifestly excessive and hence unlawful, finding that the letter was about her feeling of anguish about her father's behavior. These are inherently private and personal matters. The Mail of Sunday released a statement after the ruling saying they were surprised and disappointed at being denied the chance to have a full trial. Joining us today is the president and co-founder of West Coast Trial Lawyers, Nima Rahmani, as well as Terry Austin. Terry, from my understanding, if this was done in the United States, the results would have been a little different, right?
Absolutely. If it had been done here in the United States, the standards for a public figure are completely different for a private citizen. So here, the public has a right to know, and that outweighs the privacy right that a public figure may have. Now, having said that, a public figure can sue for defamation, but he or she would have to show that there was a false statement and that it was made with malice, it was published, and that caused harm to the reputation. So you can prevail, but it's much more difficult here.
Nima, with all that being said, do you foresee maybe perhaps more UK tabloids potentially publishing their stories in the United States to avoid all of this?
The defamation laws and privacy laws are much more favorable to the media over here. That's why actually folks suing for defamation like to sue in both the UK and other countries in Europe. It's surprising, actually. Johnny Depp filed his recent lawsuit out there and he lost. But no question that the media prefers our First Amendment protections here in the United States. And certain states, such as California, have even additional protections that allow for attorney's fees if you actually try to bring these cases forward in violation of the First Amendment.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how this works out, because if that does play out, Terry, real quick, British tabloid or UK tabloid publishes in the U.S., do they still have those protections or not? Do you think that would be an interesting question?
Well, I think that the media has far more protections here in the U.S., and I think they can say basically anything they want to say. So, yeah, I think it's different here.
Gotcha. Thank you both. Turning now to other top legal news making headlines. Father of rapper Nicki Minaj was killed in a hit-and-run crash in Long Island, New York. The Nassau County Police Department says Robert Mirage was walking along a road around 6 p.m. on Friday. A car apparently struck him and kept on driving. The 64-year-old was taken to a hospital and pronounced dead on Saturday. Police are asking any witnesses to the fatal crash to come forward. Former NFL cornerback Adam Pacman-Jones has been arrested for misdemeanor assault in Cincinnati, Ohio. Jones is accused of punching and kicking a person in the head until they were unconscious. He's had several past run-ins with the law, including disorderly conduct charges and pleading guilty to cheating at gambling. Jones has played for the Cincinnati Bengals, Denver Broncos, Dallas Cowboys, and Tennessee Titans. He retired from the NFL in 2019. A former Rutgers University basketball player is accused of killing a woman working in a nightclub in Mexico. 26-year-old Logan Kelly is being held on suspicion of murder in Tijuana. Tijuana police say Kelly walked up behind the victim, sliced her neck with a knife, and tried to flee. 19-year-old Isis Montoya reportedly died on the scene. A mom in Texas is being credited for her quick moves after tackling a man suspected of peeping in her daughter's window. Lake Jackson police dashcam video captured Phyllis Pena bringing the suspect to the ground. Police say Pena called police to report a man looking into her 15-year-old's room. Police arrived and saw Zane Hawkins nearby. Hawkins ran, and that's when Pena sprang into action. After, an officer reportedly told Pena she made a pretty good tackle. Hawkins was arrested on charges of possession of a controlled substance and evading and resisting arrest. Police in New York City announced the arrest of the so-called subway slasher. The NYPD says Rigoberto Lopez is behind a string of attacks that left 2 people dead and injured 2 more. Rigoberto Lopez faces 2 charges of second-degree murder, 2 counts of attempted second-degree murder, and 1 charge of first-degree murder. Police say the 4 victims are believed to be homeless. The stabbing and arrests all occurred within 24 hours.
A 67-year-old male was stabbed by an unknown male. He was treated at an area hospital. That night at approximately 11:29 p.m., an adult male was pronounced deceased on the A train at the Far Rockaway Mott Avenue train station in the confines of the 101 precinct. He suffered stab wounds to his neck and torso. About 2 hours later, at approximately 1:15 a.m., an unconscious 44-year-old female was found inside of a train in Inwood, 207th Street A subway station, with multiple stab wounds. She was removed to an area hospital where she was pronounced deceased. At approximately 1:28 a.m., police responded to 659 West 181st Street, where they found a 43-year-old male who was stabbed at the 181 Street A line subway station. He was treated at an area hospital and is listed in stable condition. 3 of these incidents appear to be connected, and the Detective Bureau is looking into the possibility that all 4 could have been committed by one individual.
Still ahead on Law and Crime Daily, our first live trial of the year is underway. But first, what the acquittal of former President Trump means for other investigations. Should he be worried for possible criminal charges? Our expert analysis next. The Senate acquitted former President Trump on 1 count of incitement of insurrection over the weekend. Law and Crime's Angenette Levy is here to tell us why one Senate leader says Trump's legal troubles are far from over.
Yeah, Brian, that vote fell right along party lines, with just 7 Republicans joining Democrats in voting to convict. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell then laid into the former president after the vote.
There's no question, none, that President Trump is practically and morally responsible for provoking the events of the day.
Despite voting to acquit former President Trump of incitement of insurrection, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell lambasted Trump for his actions and language. Some of the rioters who stormed the Capitol threatened to kill House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Vice President Mike Pence.
They did this because they'd been fed wild falsehoods by the most powerful man on earth. Because he was angry he'd lost an election.
The Republicans who voted to acquit said they did so largely on constitutional grounds, believing a former president cannot be impeached. McConnell warned Trump's still in legal jeopardy.
We have a criminal justice system in this country. We have civil litigation. And former presidents are not immune from being accountable by either one.
But will Trump actually face federal criminal charges? Former Assistant U.S. Attorney Gene Rossi believes it's likely.
It's not just his speech, although that is bad. It's what Donald Trump and his crew did in the White House before, during, and after the attack that matters. It's not just the speech.
But another former federal prosecutor doesn't believe Trump will be charged.
I think it's very unlikely, even though the president can be charged. It's an entirely different question of whether he will be charged. I think this new president wants to move forward, does not want to create the precedent of charging political opponents who have lost elections.
First Amendment expert and father of Law and Crime's founder, Floyd Abrams, says incitement cases can be difficult to prove given the First Amendment protections afforded by Brandenburg v. Ohio and not knowing Trump's true intent.
I would listen hard if someone said, you don't understand Trump. That's the way he is. I mean, he wanted trouble. He did at the Capitol. Did he want violence? Did he want them to invade the Capitol? He may not have even thought of it.
Now, incitement is not the only charge that President Trump or other organizers might face. There are seditious conspiracy charges and other charges under that section. And grand juries right now are returning indictments against some of those rioters. But any investigation, a grand jury investigation into the organizers of that January 6th event and the ties they may or may not have had to some of those rioters, that could take a year or longer. Brian?
Thanks, Angenette. Back to discuss the impeachment trial is one of the youngest attorneys to graduate from Harvard Law at the age of 22, Nima Rahmani, and co-host Terry Austin. Terry, impeached but not removed. The arguments now surround the wisdom of whether or not to go after a former president criminally or civilly. What do you think?
You know, he is facing charges both criminally and civilly, state and federal. There's no question that he could be charged on the federal level because remember, he has not been pardoned as of yet. Whether or not Biden is interested in bringing those charges, or the DOJ and Garland, if he's, I'm certain confirmed, we'll see. But on the state level, we know for a fact that New York State is getting ready to sue him because of the dealings with the Trump Foundation and tax fraud. And we also know that in the state of Georgia, they are getting ready to sue him, or they're investigating charges as far as seditious conspiracy is concerned. So I think he is going to be facing a number of charges, at least on the state level.
Yeah, Nima, I know you saw a very familiar gentleman in the clips prior to that. Can you kind of expand on your thoughts as to the wisdom of whether or not to prosecute him either federally or in the states? Because we're already seeing Georgia and New York kind of gearing up for that.
I expect Cyrus Vance Jr. in New York to move forward with his investigation into tax offenses. But at the federal level, this president, Joe Biden, Merrick Garland, I think it's very unlikely they're going to move forward with a criminal investigation and a prosecution. Everything that President Biden has said has suggested the opposite. And I don't expect this administration to be in the business of going after political opponents, especially those that lost.
Yeah, and that might be extremely wise when you're thinking about it from the federal level to not go after him. There's a lot more things that need to be taken care of in this country in terms of the COVID relief and other things of that nature. But like Terry said, Georgia and New York definitely looking to prosecute him there. Thank you both for contributing. Coming up on Law and Crime Daily, did a Wisconsin man kill his wife to be with a new lover? We take you inside the courtroom. Opening statements are after the break. A Wisconsin man is on trial for the alleged murder of his wife of 24 years. The only catch, police don't have a body. Victoria Prokopovitz was reported missing on April 25, 2013. Police searched for years but still haven't found her remains. Investigators noticed strange remarks and actions by the victim's husband, James Prokopovitz, including his new relationship with his girlfriend, Catherine Friday. The couple was arrested in 2019 after admitting to lying about meeting before the victim's disappearance. Friday died by suicide last year. Prosecutors say Prokopovitz had the motive, means, and opportunity to kill his wife.
The weekend you'll hear after she disappeared, that weekend, her, Vicky's daughter, Marcia, is reporting that Jim's telling her he's gonna get a U-Haul to come and get this out of the house. That he didn't need a place that big just for him. Searchers are reporting overhearing comments like this. You will never find her. She's not there. You're wasting your time searching that area. During the course of an interview with law enforcement, the defendant admitted to being involved in Vicky's disappearance. Quote, okay, I'll tell you. Okay, I'll admit I killed her. I killed her. There, I killed her. Before retracting that comment a few moments later. The defendant spoke with other individuals while in custody, that he was 100% sure that they would never find Vicky. The defendant commenting that there would be no blood or no teeth, that even if they did find her, they wouldn't be able to identify who it was.
Terry Austin has the defense's version of events.
Brian, the defense says the victim was diagnosed with cancer and other medical ailments that led to her depression. They say she suffered from mental illness and believe she disappeared on her own.
Victoria tried to commit suicide for sure twice. You're going to hear about a garage incident where she tried to gas herself, where her daughters found her. You're going to hear about a pill overdose in 2002, right around Thanksgiving time, where their son Wes found her. That's when she said, next time, no one will find me. She was upset that they found her. He loved his wife, still loves his wife. Everybody in this room wants to know where Victoria Prokopovitz is, including Jim. He wants to know where his wife is. We wouldn't be standing here today if we knew where she was. The fact of the matter is there is no body, there is no evidence. She is gone.
When we come back, the evidence police say they have and admit they're missing in the trial of a Wisconsin man accused of murdering his wife and disposing of her body. Still ahead. When Wisconsin mother Victoria Prokopovitz went missing in 2013, she left behind her purse and cell phone, items that made law enforcement suspicious.
So Mr. Prokopovitz had told me that at 10 p.m. previously, he had seen his wife in the living room watching TV and that he had gone to bed. And it's a small house. There's a little living room, teeny tiny hallway, small bedroom, that small dining room, and then a kitchen. So I had backed up and looked, and I saw that the bed was made. The bed was made very neatly and very ornately. Roughly pillows and dolls, like porcelain-faced dolls, like laid out specifically in a bedscape. I remember looking at it all and thinking that it was odd because Mr. Prokopovitz got up at 4 a.m. and he said that Mrs. Prokopovitz wasn't in bed. So in my mind, Mrs. Prokopovitz had to come back from her walk and make the bed and put all the dolls and pillows out, or no one had been sleeping in the bed at all that night.
The defense maintains her husband had nothing to do with her disappearance and pointed out on cross that investigators didn't find anything of value when searching their property.
And I asked him what had happened and why would he believe that his wife would be missing or endangered.
Okay. And that at that indication, he was concerned because his wife's been suicidal in the past. Did you get that information at first?
Yes, that's what he told me. He felt that she liked to walk out towards the creek and along the roadways. He told me that he wasn't startled by the fact that she was not in bed with him, because he said that she did sometimes get up before him, so meaning before 4 a.m., to go out for walks.
He talked about the medications, and you talked about the medications that she was taking because of her mental health issues, right?
Yes.
Did he show you the pill bottles?
Yes.
Did you count the number of meds that are in the pill bottles?
I believe I did.
Did you count the number of pills to see if they were consistent with the time they would have been distributed to the time she would have
Yes, sir.
been missing?
Yes, sir.
But that wasn't in your report, correct?
No.
Okay. And did you note if any pills were gone?
No.
All right, back to discuss murder or disappearance is Nima Rahmani and Terry Austin. Nima, no body, the defense is going with the argument of She tried to commit suicide twice and failed. Maybe this is the time she was successful. What do you make of that argument?
Well, it's the only argument that they have, that, this is a gone girl situation or, suicide. But how often do you see a suicide and the body is never found? Not often. And the issue is Prokopovitz has been caught in lie after lie during the interviews regarding the disappearance of his wife. He's already an admitted liar. He's perjured himself, and he's been charged with that. So even though they don't have a body, they don't have a murder weapon, they have motive, they have opportunity. So I expect prosecutors to be able to move forward and get a guilty verdict in this case.
All right, we'll keep eyes on it, of course, for the next 2 weeks. Terry, how would you compare the prosecution's case to that of the defense's so far?
Usually I listen to the prosecution, and I do lean on that side after you hear the opening. But I think the defense has done a great job arguing against every allegation. So, for instance, the prosecution has said that the defendant said they'll never find her. Well, the explanation is because after her second suicide attempt, she herself said, they'll never find me. There are other explanations, like she was, subject to him and he was very controlling. One of the things the defense said was, well, he was trying to protect her because she's depressed and has suicidal tendencies. So I will just say there are at least explanations for almost everything that's going on so far in this case. And I'm impressed by what the defense is doing.
A lot of explanations, but at the end of the day, the question for those jurors are, is it reasonable? And is it guilty beyond a reasonable doubt? Of course, we'll continue to follow this case to let you know. Nima, thank you for joining us. Terry, thank you as always. And thank you for joining us here on Law and Crime Daily. We'll see you next time as we discuss justice in America.